Hey friends, welcome back to Living in His Purpose podcast. I don't know about your world, but my world goes by really too fast. When I feel like it's been a day, I look up and it's been a week. I meant to have this episode out before Mother's Day, and here we are the Monday after Mother's Day. But I want you to see this as an opportunity to just do the thing anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect. All things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to. Today, I want to talk about something that is a really tender subject about expectations, forgiveness, and reconciliation, especially when it comes to that relationship of our moms. I'm going to share some of my story, and I hope it helps you feel seen and encouraged because I believe God can use every bit of your journey, even the parts that feel messy or misunderstood. So let's go back a little bit. If you listened to my very first podcast episode, you may remember that I shared how I wasn't in any kind of relationship with my family at that time. Now, last May, I finally felt God nudging me to reach out to my mom and my sister and my daughter. It was really scary and it was really hard, but I clearly heard him say, "It's time." And the way behind our separation, how we got there, it's a really long, convoluted story. But the bottom line is there was so much lack of communication. Now, a few weeks ago, I got to sit down with my mom and we had a really clear the air kind of conversation. It was emotional. There were decades of thoughts and pain that came up, but getting it out was profound. And what I realized is this: we both had expectations. We both had what I now call an expectation manual, this internal book of how we thought the other person should behave, how they should be responding, how they should be showing up. And neither of us ever communicated anything, not once. So many of us carry these invisible manuals. We expect people to know just how to love us, how to support us, how to respond to us. And when they don't follow the book that we wrote, which by the way doesn't even exist, we feel let down. And that's where disappointment and resentment grows. Brene Brown, who's done amazing work on the topics of vulnerability, shame, and connection, she calls these stealth expectations. She says that clear is kind and unclear is unkind. And that hit home for me. If we don't communicate what we're hoping for, we're setting people up to fail us without even knowing it. And that's what I want to focus on today. Recognizing the manuals that we've written for others and asking ourselves if it's time just to let them go. So let's go back in time a little bit. When I was a little girl, I lived in California and it was the late 70s. And what I remember of it was life was loud, it was uncertain, it was very colorful. And my mom was a single mom just trying to survive. That wasn't easy. The economy was a mess. The job market wasn't kind to women, and most decisions had to be made without our current conveniences like Google, cell phones, all of the information we have at our tips of our fingers, right? She had limited support and a lot of judgment coming her way. She was expected to handle it all, and honestly, she did the best that she could, but I did not understand that as a child. I just knew I felt unseen, so I coped the only way I knew how. I became a people pleaser. I watched her moods closely. I adapted. I learned how to manage other people's emotions, but not my own. Now I know that was survival mode. And my mom, she was surviving too. Now, as kids, we're naturally self-focused. And when our emotional needs are not met, we make up stories. And one of the stories that I carried around was, I must not matter enough. And that one thought shaped years of my life. So let's talk about what's actually going on in our brains when we carry these kinds of expectations. And if you know me, you know by now, I love the science, right? It's objective and it helps us understand. Neuroscience shows us that our brains are wired to predict what's going to happen next. That helps us function in the world, but it also means we build models in our head of how people should act. especially those people who are close to us. And this is called predictive coding. When someone doesn't follow the script that we've created for them, our brain experiences a prediction error. And that's where confusion and hurt and disappointment kind of rush in and fill the gaps. And there's also something called top-down processing. It means that the way we expect things to go actually shapes how we see and interpret what's happening. So if we expect rejection, we're going to see neutral behavior as a sign of being dismissed. Now you add in trauma or unhealed wounds, and that interpretation feels like truth, even when it's not. So being aware of our brain's wiring does not excuse everything, but it helps us step out of the shame. It helps us say, this isn't just about what they did. This is about how I'm perceiving it. Now, fast forward to my teen years in the 1980s. Big hair, big music, even bigger feelings. Now, girls like me were navigating our identity in a culture that praised independence, but it didn't really offer much emotional support. We were latchkey kids, raised by MTV and pop culture, told we could have it all, but with not much guidance on what all even meant. Now, without a strong father presence in my life, I looked for love in all the wrong places. I became hyper aware of other people's moods. I overachieved to gain attention, and I rebelled to be noticed. I silenced my feelings, but not because I didn't feel them, but because no one seemed safe enough to help carry them. And again, I had my manual, expectations for how my mom should show up, expectations for how people should respond to my pain, expectations I never said out loud. And she had one too. So we were both operating in survival mode, writing scripts for each other that no one was reading. And later on in life, just a few years later, not much longer, when I lost custody of my daughter, that pain only grew deeper. I felt like I was reaching out for help and no one was hearing me. But now when I look back, I never said what I needed. I just expected them to know. And when I went to buy a Mother's Day card recently, I had to laugh a little bit because they don't make cards that say, hey, I didn't know you for the last 20 years and the years before that were complicated, but I still love you. So maybe if you're a card designer, you can make one that says, I'm so glad we're in the missing middle. I'd buy that one. Now, when I reached out to my mom and my sister and my daughter last year, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that God was asking me to make the first move. There was so much humility involved, so much hope. And no, we haven't fixed everything overnight. We're still in that sticky middle, but we're keeping the lines of communication really honestly for the first time in our lives. And that, my friend, is huge progress. It's really hard for me to not beat myself up for taking 20 years to make that call, but God's timing is good. I have to believe that. I had to be coached. I had to be healed. I had to learn to take my thoughts captive and understand that emotions do not have to control my life. And the truth is, I don't think that I would have had the courage to reach out if God hadn't led me down this coaching path. Now, through mindset work and surrender, I have found clarity. And most importantly, I have found peace. If you're in a hard place with someone you love, especially your mom, here are 3 mindset blocks that might be keeping you stuck. Number 1, they should know how I feel. Number 2, if they really loved me, they wouldn't have done that. Number 3, nothing will ever change. Each of these thoughts build an expectation manual. And friend, we don't have to keep carrying that. Paul said in Philippians 3:13, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining forward what is ahead. That is my encouragement to you today. Let go of the old expectations. Lay down that manual. God is a redeemer and he's writing a new chapter. Even if reconciliation is messy and unsure, it's still holy ground. This is where we lean on him. But one thing I do want to caution you, reconciliation takes part on both sides. If it's just you reconciling and the other party is not involved, It will not work. It's not reconciliation. And it's okay to move forward in that forgiveness. But reconciliation can only happen with both sides. Now, if you find yourself stuck in one of these mindset loops, you're not alone. And this is exactly the kind of work I do with my coaching clients. We take thoughts like these and shift them one gentle step at a time. It's using a tool called the thought ladder. If you'd like to see what that looks like, I've created a downloadable guide that you could find in the show notes with examples for each of these 3 thoughts that I mentioned. The thought ladder is such a powerful way to begin renewing your mind. And if you want support walking that journey, you can book a single session with me anytime. Just head to the link in the show notes and I'd be honored to walk alongside of you. I hope that me sharing just the tip of the iceberg of relationships that I'm going through now in my life has encouraged you. What I have found in my life is that we are not alone. Things that we're going through, other people have gone through. And I want to share that over and over and over again. I believe that the enemy has a mission to isolate us. And when we are isolated and when we believe that we're the only ones going through what we're going through, then we'll never heal. We'll never reach out for hope. We'll always feel alone and abandoned. And I am taking the step to say no to that. We are not alone. You are not alone. What you're going through, someone else has gone through, and it's okay exactly where you are. I am so grateful that you've been here today. I know this is kind of short, but that seems to be the trend I'm on. We're just going for the short and straight to the point. Put down those emotional relationship manuals. There is no such thing. Communication is what is extremely important. We have to be talking to people, even the hard talks. And I encourage you. And if you need help with that, like I said, reach out. I am here. Grab that thought letter worksheet and see how that works. And I hope that you have a great week. Talk to you later.